still remember my first time topside. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. The old stories of the collapse and the exodus felt closer than ever. How they left us in 2082. How the world broke long before the machines came. This was supposed to be simple. A few containers, picking up some pieces. Pull my weight or starve. I had no real skills for anything else down here. Couldn't cook worth a damn. Engineering was beyond me. Most orphans turn to the topside. Most never make it back. I almost didn't. They call this place Speranza. It had other names in the past, but now it's more than just a sinkhole city hanging over the abyss. It's alive. Walkways creak under boots, lanterns swing, voices echo everywhere, kids chasing each other between hanging hydroponic gardens, old-timers arguing over scrap trades, the constant cluck and scratch of chickens scratching in the back alleys for scraps. The air smells of damp stone, cooking herbs, and faint ozone from the surface vents. It feels like a real neighborhood carved into the earth we own. The word is many places like this exist. Sinkhole cities, the fabric of the planet, reshaped over time. I woke up in my hole in the wall. You would barely call it a den. A tiny room just big enough for a mattress, a small crate for belongings if I had any, and a hook for my pack. The walls were raw, sinkhole concrete, patched with whatever the last guy left. It's not much, but at least it's mine. Improvements will happen, but that comes later, they say. The more you bring back, the better your quarters get. Maybe a bigger den, better gear, hell, even a proper chair one day. But right now I was just another fresh face who had to raid because I couldn't do anything else useful down here. I stepped out onto the busy street level. Many passed me on the walkways, but you could always spot the real veterans. There was always an aura about them. One brushed past with an aviator jacket with leather flight patches and a scarf that looked like it had survived 100 extractions. Another had the full rig. Heavy boots, layered canvas, and climbing hooks dangling from the belt, and they would always have some old ornaments or trinkets hanging from their packs. I'd heard the stories whispered in the dens, tales from the topside, big arc machines, single-handed being taken down, using ingenuity and old tech to outsmart the machines. But I also heard the other truth. Not every raider is friendly topside. Out there, it's everyone for themselves. The ones who last have intuition and a willingness to leave you behind if it means making extraction. Either way, raiding topside wasn't just an occupation, it was a lifestyle. I made my way to Shawnee's stall. She stood there, arms crossed, short, dark hair, that flat, no-nonsense stare that already made me feel small. Her assistant, a quiet guy with grease-stained hands and a tool belt, stepped forward. Shawnee spoke first, voice flat and direct. The storm has mostly settled, but much of our infrastructure has taken a proper beating. If you're hoping to stay with us, I'll need you to pull your weight in the repair efforts. Her assistant handed me the weapon. He called it Kettle, a stubby, welded pipe of a gun that felt like a toy in my hands. It's not much, but it's something. Some makeshift binoculars and a small folded map. Shawnee continued without pause. We'll need plenty of materials for repairs. I'll make some good loot spots on your map. Head up there and see what you can find. I took the gear and headed for the tunnels. A slow hatch crank for me today. New raiders get to climb the long way. Veterans get the fast capsules using the old Exodus tunnels. I cranked the heavy wheel, stepped into the narrow chute, and started the climb. My boots echoed on the rungs as I pulled myself up rung by rung through the repurposed Exodus tunnels, the same shafts they once used in to build their escape into the stars, now our lifeline from the depths to the surface. In the adjacent chutes, I could hear the sudden whoosh of fast capsules, launching veterans topside in seconds, wind roaring around them. These tunnels connected the whole of the Rust Belt. People much smarter than me figured out how to use them. They are still finding more new routes even to this day. The deafening sound of the capsule launches faded as I climbed further upwards. My arms burned. Empty pack felt heavy somehow. After what felt like forever, I reached the top hatch, cranked the heavy wheel with aching hands, heard the hiss of pressure equalizing, and stepped out into a loading bay for the Exodus tunnels. I could see the light and taste the fresh air as I stepped out into my new beginnings. They used to call this place something else. Some old corporate testing zone. Not many can read and speak the old tongue of these parts before the world shifted. Just outside the bunker next to the entrance, a bent-over of sign reading the Alcantara Power Plant, but someone had crossed it out and written, "The Dam Battlegrounds." I read in our codexes that the dam was a lifeline for settlers during the Age of Sunrise, but like everywhere, it became a shell-scarred battleground during the first wave. The surface air starts to hit like a wall. Thick, metallic, carrying wet rot and ozone. I took our filtering systems for granted down under. The wind constantly tugged at my makeshift raider gear. Olive jacket stitched with copper wire, cargo pants patched with tarpaulin scraps, mismatched boots wrapped in tire rubber. My pack was already rubbing my lower back and shoulders. I pulled out the binoculars Shawnee's assistant had slipped me, climbed a small ridge and scanned. The whole damn battlegrounds spread out below. Toxic pools glowing sickly green between rolling hills, twisted trees clawing out of cracked concrete. In the far distance, I could see the massive silhouette of the Alcantara power plant itself, the dam, half swallowed by overgrowth. Closer, faint blue arc lights pulsed on the horizon like watching eyes. Somewhere out there, the old hydroponic domes still stood, but I wasn't going that far. Not today. I started at the Formicae outpost, a cluster of prime tactical vantage points set up overlooking the dam. This is how they won the first wave, using the terrain to their advantage. Remnants of these posts are everywhere. Some with supplies and useful materials, others with long-gone raider caches buried from the battle, overgrown with thorny vines. I start to pry open any container that looks intriguing. Stacks of sturdy plastic sheets, still flexible, edges sharp enough to cut my gloves. I stuff them in, digging in and around old arms cases, behind shelving and pulling every drawer. Anything of value on Shawnee's list is in the pack. Next, the descent into the scrapyard. A wide, sunken depression carved into the hillside, where the forest had slowly reclaimed a graveyard of old-world machines. Rusted vehicle hulks leaned against each other like exhausted giants. Overturned trucks with shattered windshields, crumpled cars half buried in mud, massive cylindrical fuel tanks tipped on their sides, their once shiny surfaces now pitted and blackened. Scattered tractor trailers and flatbed haulers lay tangled among the trees, tires long rotted away, leaving only steel rims sunk into the soft earth. Old tires dotted the ground like black mushrooms, some cracked open, others still holding shallow pools of rainwater that reflected the gray sky. The wind moved low through the wreckage, whistling faintly as it passed through torn metal panels and broken frames, carrying the sharp metallic tang of rust and the damp rot of moss clinging to everything. Mist hung in the air, softening the edges of the hulks so they looked almost ghostly. Remnants of a convoy or supply line that never made it through the first wave. Here and there, scorch marks darkened the plating. Black streaks and melted edges from the heavy weapons of the old barons, those colossal machines that once dominated these hills. I moved carefully between the carcasses, boots sinking into the mud with every step. One of the containers was wedged inside a split-open cargo trailer. Intact metal brackets, heavy and cold in my hands. their surfaces still flecked with those ancient scorch marks like battle scars that never healed. I pried them free, felt their weight settle into my pack, and kept moving. Another lay half buried under a collapsed flatbed, more of the same. Solid, unbent brackets that had somehow survived decades of decay. I took them all. Every last one. They were just parts to me then. Cold, nameless salvage. But they felt like small victories against the faint hum of Ark in the distance. The path led me deeper into the forest, toward the wreckage, a place that felt less like ruins and more like a battlefield frozen in time. The trees here grew thicker, their branches forming a canopy that filtered the light into shifting green-gray patterns on the ground. Mist clung low, turning distant shapes into ghosts. As I pushed through the undergrowth, the first signs appeared. Massive husks from the first wave, scattered like fallen titans across the clearing. Things the size of small buildings, barons, the old raiders called them once. Colossal machines that had dominated these hills during the endless fighting. Their armor plates, now cracked and overgrown, cores long extinguished but still radiating that silent menace. One lay tilted on its side, half sunk into the earth, vines and roots weaving through breaches in its plating like nature was slowly digesting it. A giant tree had taken root right through the center of another, its thick trunk splitting the heavy armor open as if the metal were nothing more than paper, branches spreading wide where thrusters once roared. The air felt heavier here, thicker with the smell of damp moss, rust, and something faintly acrid, like old burning circuits that never fully cooled. Scattered debris littered the ground, shattered drone fragments, twisted rebar, pieces of what might have been supply crates from the old defensive lines. The wind moved slower through this pocket, carrying only faint whispers past the hulks instead of the sharp whistles of the scrapyard. I found the container wedged deep inside a split-open cargo pod, one of the massive cylindrical transport shells that had probably once carried munitions or parts during the first wave. The pod's side had been torn open like a cracked egg, exposing coils of rubber tubing still surprisingly supple after all these years, coiled tight and ready to be salvaged. I pulled them free carefully, feeling the faint give under my gloves, then zipped the pack shut. The weight settled against my back like a promise or a burden. I was turning for extraction, already scanning for the nearest beacon path through the trees. I consulted my map, identifying the closest lift back down below. These service lifts, repurposed from the first wave battle now, as raider transport can only be serviced with power for a limited time to protect Speranza from Ark and conceal its whereabouts. I turned for my drop pin, mapping the quickest path southeast through the trees, when I heard it. A wasp. A low, patrolling drone at first. Not loud, but close. Like something mechanical breathing just behind my shoulder, it must have heard me breaching and scavenging. Then the wings snapped still on the hover, the sound of rotors from their housing. I froze mid-step. I'd heard the stories below, whispered by those who'd survived more than one run. Wasps were second-wave hunters, small and nimble than the colossal machines previously, but faster, smarter, and built for exactly this, pursuing lone raiders through the ruins. They didn't lumber like the big machines. They hovered, scanned, and never gave up. Their faint, glowing red core pulsed like a heartbeat, seen just through the seals of their outer plating, quad rotors blurring so fast they became invisible, and those barrels hanging from their underside made these the drones from hell. I risked one glance back. It rose from behind the split cargo pod. The searchlight swept the clearing first in cold, methodical blue, hunting for movement. My mouth went dry. I was under-equipped, still carrying nothing but a half-empty, pathetic kettle and a pack of scrap. This thing was designed to pin me down. The drone rose higher, rotors whipping, the fauna swirling. For one terrifying second, the light passed right over my boots, then it locked. The A-piecing screech sounded as its targeting systems woke up. Its beam snapped to yellow, pulsing, narrowing. My boot had scraped a loose shard of metal. The wasp knew I was here. I couldn't outmaneuver it. Its light flared red. Now I understand why some raiders wear eyewear. A blinding crimson beam stabbed straight through the trees, searing my vision even as I spun away. The sound of the rotors thundering into overdrive and its chambers being loaded. It felt like a hunter's cry, echoing off the massive husks around me. Shots began stitching the ground behind me in perfect, deadly lines as I ran. The wasp gave relentless chase. I ran through the trees down across the ridges. I fired the kettle blindly behind me. Most shots missed wide. A couple landed, sparks flying, but the thing didn't even slow. It felt invincible. Its cannons rained shots down behind me, exploding dirt and rock, nipping at my boots. I've never moved faster. The adrenaline was overwhelming. I was under-equipped, inexperienced, and terrified. A shot grazed my shoulder. Burning pain. As I took to a slide down the embankment toward a huge, brutalist concrete building rising ahead. I sprinted past the vertical slats on the upper floors like ribs, lower section patched with green corrugated metal, faded corporate lettering on the side. My scrap jacket torn from sliding on the gravel, as well as my pack strap ripped, my hand holding it together whilst compressing the bleeding wound. I launched myself of the concrete wall, sending a painful shock up my legs upon landing to the lift, platformed on the balcony below the structure, overlooking the dry dam bed below. I slammed the call button as I heard the wasp approaching, reloading its chambers. A crackled speaker above the lift hissed to life. Platform confirmed, arriving. The lift groaned upward. The wasp hovered closer, guns spooling up. I dove into a nearby shed, avoiding its latest rounds of fire, surrounded by rusted tools, old crates. While I hid, its searing crimson beam that stabbed straight through the newly made bullet holes in the shed walls, lighting up dust motes like fire. My heart slammed. The shed shook from the draft of its motors. I pressed against the back wall, kettle empty, breathing so hard I thought my chest would crack. Hearing the mechanical whirring of the lift, arriving closer combined with the pulsating sound of its alarms. My lifeline from the top side mere meters away. The lift slammed to the top, and with a hiss of relieved pressure, the doors of its pyramid-like structure opened, giving a slight distraction to the wasp. Using the delicate moment of chance, I bolted out the side door, dove inside, and hit the descent on the console. The wasp fired desperate bursts into the lift as doors closed, sparks flying as iron lift provides cover, and the platform dropped me out of sight. On the descent, the capsule humming around me, I finally caught my breath. Adrenaline wearing off, replaced with the pain in my throbbing shoulder, clothes torn, pack ripped, but the materials were safe. I stared at the scratched metal walls of the old Exodus pod and thought about how far I'd come in one run. Not dead. Not yet, as the faintest of smiles spread across my face, back through the tunnels and into Speranza. Shawnee's assistant met me at the stall. As he counted the haul, Shawnee approached from the back of her stall, said, "It looks like you found your way to those loot spots. Good. It'll be a while before everything's patched up, so every bit helps." He nodded, and she pressed a small cut of pay into my hand, a handful of cred chips. "Not bad for a first run," she muttered with a slight grin. I didn't even go to the clinic to get my shoulder checked. I went straight to the Raiders bar, a communal spot carved into the upper level where lanterns hung low and entertainment played on old screens. Patrons laughed, clinking glasses as some arena shooting game show looped overhead. Perched on a bar stool leaning on the makeshift counter, I ordered a cheap beer, hands still shaking. I noticed a veteran raider walk across the bar towards me. As he leant over me, he took a quick glance at my shoulder and the stained blood on my jacket. He didn't speak, just dropped a lone bandage and tapped the neck of his bottle against mine with a soft clink, gave a single nod, and left to a group in booth across the bar. That nod said everything. I was still new, still patched together, but I'd made it back. I was in. It's a lifestyle now.